Hi everyone. This video is on getting 20 degrees lesser CPU temps for free. Let's start this with a word of caution. All the steps performed in this video are at my own risk. Remember, if you are trying it, it's all at your own risk and I'm not responsible for any kind of damages. Let's get into the topic. How is it possible to achieve a reduced CPU temps without any expensive third-party air coolers or any kind of liquid coolers? It's very simple and free. You would need the Ryzen Master Utility to perform this on any Ryzen CPUs. This is possible even on Non-X Ryzen CPUs. We are going to achieve the reduced CPU temps by undervolting. Undervolting. Undervolting is a process where voltage to CPU is reduced in order to reduce its energy consumption and heat without affecting performance. Note that most desktop motherboards allow tweaking CPU voltage settings in BIOS as well. Advantages of CPU undervolting. It has quite a lot of advantages like low power consumption by 10% to 15%, low fan speed by 20%, hence 10% to 15% lesser fan noise. No need for expensive CPU coolers. No leaking from AIO third-party CPU coolers. Can save up to £250 on AIO or third-party coolers in the market. Extends the life of the CPU by 10% to 15%. Overall lesser heat and noise from the system. No impact on any games as games use lesser CPU than GPU. Content creators may experience plus or minus 5% CPU performance, for 20% lesser price and 20% less noise and heat. Why should we undervolt the CPU? Any CPU will throttle when it gets its maximum temperature during operation. Undervolting will reduce the power consumption and so the heat of the processor is reduced drastically as we reduce the voltage to the processor. When the processor is kept cool, its performance will be optimal and very stable. In some cases, we can expect a 5% to 10% faster performance as the CPU temp is maintained low, so it will perform a bit faster. How to undervolt the CPU? For Ryzen, use AMD Ryzen Master software. You can download it from AMD website. Once the Ryzen Master software is on, follow the below steps. 1. Find the base clock of your processor and set it to the base clock. 2. Step down the CPU voltage by 0.050. 3. Apply and stress in the Ryzen Master software. 4. Run any CPU stressing tool like Prime 95 for 30 minutes, or render something in Blender. 5. If still your computer works without crashing, then repeat the steps from 2 through 4 till the computer crashes to a blue screen. The last but one voltage where your PC did a stable run is your best undervolting voltage for your CPU. 6. Now you will realize that your CPU must have reduced the temperature up to 20 degrees from its normal load temps. Congratulations, you have successfully undervolted your CPU. Benchmarks. All these benchmarks are by stressing the CPU by running Prime 95 for 20 minutes and a rendering in Blender. Let's see the comparison chart. CPU set frequency. The non-undervolted CPU runs on 3.3 GHz and the undervolted CPU is fixed on its base clock of 3.2 GHz. CPU voltage. The undervolted CPU runs on 10% lesser voltage than the non-undervolted CPU. CPU temperature. The undervolted CPU runs 20% cooler than the non-undervolted CPU, so cooler the CPU lesser the CPU fan RPM and noise. CPU power. The undervolted CPU consumes 31% lesser power than the non-undervolted CPU. CPU average frequency. The undervolted CPU runs 6% slower than the non-undervolted CPU. CPU fan speed. The undervolted CPU fan runs 29% slower than the non-undervolted CPU, so more than 20% lesser fan noise. Render time. The undervolted CPU renders 1% slower than the non-undervolted CPU. This 1% compromise on performance can get you 20% lesser CPU temperature, 31% lesser power and 29% lesser fan speed and noise. I think I have saved a few dollars on my AIO cooler and hefty third-party air coolers. Please comment your thoughts and ideas in the comment section below. Also share your technical experience so we can come up with another interesting discussion. Please hit the like button if this video was useful to you and remember to share it to your friends so they can save a few dollars. Thanks for watching, see you in a new video.